Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. I'm Mr. White. This is going to be lesson 9-4. This is going to be our first attempt into solving quadratics. Okay, we're going to use the zero product property, or in other words, according to the title, we're going to find our roots. So another name is, we're looking for our roots, our solutions, or our x-intercepts. Here we go. If I need to find the value of each expression, if we look at 1a, we're going to go 3 times 0. That is 0. If we go to b, negative 16 times 0, we also get 0. If we take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.789 times 0, don't think too much. That is also 0. Okay. If we take 0 times 28.7, well, the 0's first. No, that's still 0. If we take 0 times any number, or any number times 0, we will always get 0. So is there any other way to make the answer 0 other than to make one of the numbers 0? No. So question 1 is going to illustrate what is known as the zero product property. Zero product property. To the right. This is when multiplying two numbers, the only way to get the product to be 0 is for one of the numbers to be 0. So if we have A times B, and we want that to be equal to 0, there's two things that need to be known. Or we need to know that one of these factors has to be 0. So we can let A equal 0, or we can let B equal 0. And if one of them is 0, then no matter what we plug in for the other variable, we will always get 0 when we multiply. So when we look at number 2, A, in each factored expression, what values for the variable would make the equation true? So these values are the solutions to the equations that we're looking for, or the roots, or the x-intercepts. So what we're trying to do is we have x times x minus 2 equals 0. We need to figure out what can we plug in for x to make it 0, because we know that this needs to be 0, or we know that x minus 2 needs to be 0. So the best thing to do is just take both factors and set them equal to 0. And the good thing is when we take this first one, this x, and we say if x equals 0, or if we take x minus 2 equals 0. Well, our first answer is already equal to 0, so we know that x equals 0 is one solution, or one answer. Or, in order to solve for x for the x minus 2, we're going to have to add 2 over to both sides. Okay, when we do that, we get x equals positive 2. So if we plug in 2 to x, we should get an answer for 0. Or if we plug in 0, well, let's plug in 0. You get 0 times 0 minus 2 should equal 0. 0 times negative 2 equals 0. Correct. If we plug in 2, we get 2 times 2 minus 2 equals 0. 2 times 0 equals 0. So both answers will become 0. All right, let's skip down. Letter C. What if we have a binomial times a binomial? Well, again, they are the factors, and inside we have an x plus 1 and an x minus 3. We need to figure out, well, what can we plug in to this x plus 1 to make it 0? What could we plug in for x to make x minus 3 equal 0? Best thing to do, set x plus 1 equal to 0, or x minus 3 equals 0. Both equations now, we're going to move and get x by itself. So let's subtract 1. Let's add 3. By doing that, we're going to get x should equal negative 1, or x will equal positive 3. So then if we go back in and we plug in negative 1 plus 1 is 0. So 0 times anything will give us 0. All right, let's skip to F. Woo! Question mark. What is he thinking? He's thinking, well, again, how many factors do we have? Hopefully you're thinking 3. There's an x times an x plus 7 times an x minus 9. So we need to take all 3 factors and set them equal to 0. So the first one, we're going to say, okay, x can equal 0, or x plus 7 should equal 0, or x minus 9 should equal 0. Now let's solve. Well, the first one's already solved for. So we know one of our answers is 0. If we take and subtract the 7 over, we're going to get x equals negative 7. And if we take and add the 9 over, we're going to get x equals 9. So there's our 3 solutions. We could have 0 for an answer, or we could have negative 7 for an answer, or x equals 9 for an answer. All right, what you're going to do, you're going to hit pause. You're going to do and finish B, D, and E. Check back in a few minutes, see if you have the correct answers. Make sure you show your work. Go. Alright, welcome back. Again, make sure you have the two factors. Make sure you set the factors equal to 0. And what goes in for B on number 2 that you can get to 0, either one of the factors. And the answer was 5 or negative 2. Same thing on 3. You should have gotten negative 5 and negative 2. Congratulations. Let's do some more complicated ones. Next page. Alright, let's look at number 6. Alright, remember, steps. Okay, is it in standard form? The answer is yes. It is all set equal to 0. Okay, the next thing now, we went to factor. Remember, greatest common factor is always first. The last page we didn't really have that because we had a coefficient of 1 on the f squared or the g squared or the a squared or the b squared. But this one, can we take out a number? We have 8, 7. Right there, you should see there is no numbers that we can take out. Okay, and also the negative 18 does not have an f, so there isn't anything we can factor out first. So we immediately are going to look at, can we Xbox this? So we're going to go 8 times the negative 18. Okay, that's going to give us negative 144. And then we bring down that 7. Okay, I know these are big numbers, but again, that's where our multiplication gets better. We're going to think, what times what equals negative 144, but adds to get 7? Well, the first two numbers off the top of my head are obviously 12 and 12. Okay, but let's start basic. We have 1 and 144. Okay, that's not going to work. 2 and 72. That's not going to work. We can go 3 and 47. No, that's not going to work. And as you keep going, you should see that the answer is 16 and 9. Now, we need a negative, so one of them has to be negative, and we want the 7 to be positive, so we got to put the negative on the 9. Yay. So now, let's fill in our box. We know that this is 8f squared. We have 16f. We have negative 9f. And we have negative 18. Now, factor out. Okay, let's go from right to left on the top. There isn't anything we could take out other than an f. So we have an f. And then between 16 and 18, what could we take out? The only thing we can take out is a 2. So right now we have an f plus 2. If we go from bottom to top with the 8f squared, you can take out an 8f. And notice, because the next one, the negative 9, is a negative, we're going to take out a negative 9 that goes into both of those terms. So we have 8f minus 9 times f plus 2, and set that equal to 0. And there's our factors. Okay. Now we're going to take those factors, just like the last two pages. We're going to set them equal to 0. And f plus 2 equals 0. Okay. And now solve for f. By solving for f on the first one, we're going to add 9. Okay. And then we need to divide by 8. So by adding 9 and dividing by 8, we get f is equal to 9/8, which is one of the solutions. And then when we subtract 2, we're going to get f is equal to negative 2. What do you notice about number 10? Hopefully you're thinking, okay, 1 is not set equal to 0, and 2, there's only 2 terms. 2 terms is okay. Let's subtract the 16 over. Okay, these are not like terms, so we still have 4k squared minus 16 equals 0. Okay, if you notice, the 0k is missing. But before we even do that, remember, greatest common factor. We can take out a 4, or realistically, we can divide. Because it's set equal to 0, we're solving. So if we divide out a 4, we're going to be left with k squared minus 4 equals 0. Okay, that's much easier to factor. Or in other words, we have k squared plus 0k minus 4 equals 0. We're trying to think, what times what equals negative 4, but adds to get 0? And some of you can see that. If you can, go through those progressions. We have a 2 and a negative 2. So if we were to put this in, we're going to have k squared. We have minus 2k plus 2k minus 4. When we factor out, you should get k plus 2, k minus 2. Okay, so our factors are k minus 2 times k plus 2 is equal to 0. Set those equal to 0, and we're going to get solve for k. So you should have gotten k equals 2 or k equals negative 2. Let's get down to number 16 here. All right, again, we're going to look at our quadratic. The highest degree is a 2. We're going to subtract the 12s. By subtracting the 12s, we now put this in standard form. We'll get 9s squared minus 12s plus 4 equals 0. Okay. It is in standard form. Is there anything in common we can factor out? And we have a 9s squared, 12s, 4. No. Okay. So now we're going to look to factor. So 9 times 4 is 36, negative 12. What times 1 equals 36, but adds to get negative 12? Hopefully you're thinking negative 6 and negative 6. So we're going to immediately put those here. And we drop in the 9s squared and the 4. Looking to factor. Top boxes. We can actually take out a 3s. And because this negative 6s is here, we're going to have to take out a negative. And I think the only thing you can take out is a negative 2. If we go up and down, you can take out a 3s and again a negative 2. So when we factor this, we get 3s minus 2 times 3s minus 2. That should be equal to 0. Notice both factors are the same, so we can go 3s minus 2 equals 0 only one time. We're going to add 2 to both sides. Get 3s equals 2. When you divide by 3, you get s is equal to 2 thirds. All right, go ahead, hit pause. We're going to finish the rest of these problems. If you get stuck, just make sure you follow the steps. Remember, standard form, greatest common factor, factor out, and then set equal to 0 using zero product property. Go. All right, welcome back. Go ahead, check the rest of your answers, 5, 7, 8, 9, and the rest. And making sure that if you plug them back into the original equation, for instance, number 7, you should get equal to 6. So always check your answers. And if you still have questions, please ask us right away. And congratulations. Hope you have a wonderful morning, day, or night. Always remember, do your best, forget the rest. Bye 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 for now.